The Orlando Magic may have gotten the steal of the draft with the number 18th pick, Tristan da Silva, last night. We're going to get into his player profile, who he is, why he's such a good fit for the Magic, and what the Magic are going to do going forward with the second round pick that they have tonight, and what they're going to do in free agency in the upcoming days. But first, we would love to hear from everybody in the comments what you actually think the Magic are going to do with their pick tonight. The NBA draft starts at 4 Eastern today, and the Magic hold the 47th pick. Are they going to keep it? Are they going to end up taking a player with it? Or are they going to move it for potential cash considerations or just package it in a later second-round deal? Whatever you think is going to happen, make sure to let us know. Now, it's time to dive into a quick little player profile on who Tristan da Silva is. There was not exactly a ton of buzz around Tristan da Silva, I would say, at the very top of the draft, but he was right around the kind of projected in the mocks where we were. So this is a perfect pick. Even USA Today had him mocked to us. So he's the 23-year-old. He played for the Colorado Buffaloes. He's from Munich, Germany, and he's played 4 years of college ball. Speaks 5 languages, and he's got Brazilian and Germany dual citizenship. And I think he's going to really favor the Germany part of it because he's joining Mo and Franz, who obviously are on the German national team. But that's just kind of his quick player profile. 3-and-D guy, improved every year that he played at Colorado, and that was something that was really huge. We'll get into that in just a second. And like I said, 3-and-D guy, and that is kind of just his overall player profile. Now, why exactly did the Magic choose him? Well, as I mentioned earlier, it's because of these two guys. They, in part. Why does he fit so well? He obviously has said, like, look, it's going to make this feel more like home. He said it's kind of great to join that group, makes it feel a little bit more homey, and I've already been in contact with both of them. This is a great sign. This is about the greatest news that you could ever hear as a Magic fan, is that he's already been talking to the two guys who play for the German national team as a German, and I think that that's such a really big thing, that he's just kind of going to grow into being the teammate for both Franz and Mo, and could potentially Paolo Banchero. And now, what else are we looking at as far as why the Magic drafted him? Obviously, you're looking at, hey, we needed a 3-and-D guy. We needed the scoring. We needed a guy who continued to improve. We don't care about the ceiling. And he's joining Franz and Mo. And that's obviously been, felt like I needed to cover that right out the gate, because that's been the biggest thing that people have talked about. Well, the biggest thing now is the fit. Like I said, we needed scoring. We needed some. We don't really need too many guys on the wing, but the Magic love their big players. They love, like, the actual size of the player, so they enjoyed it. So here's what everybody has been saying, and why I think that this is such a big steal for Orlando. They're saying Da Silva is a good fit for the Magic. This is Bleacher Report, who gave the pick an A-. They said is a good fit for the Magic. It seems pretty hard to imagine him not being a successful pro. Pretty good fit coming off the bench. I think that's exactly what we're going to ask him to do. I don't see us asking him to do much more than coming off the bench. The Athletic says scouts have finally come around to following his strong finish to the year and play in the NCAA tournament. Over his final 14 games, Da Silva averaged 17 points per game, 51.4% from the field, 42.6% from three. He made nearly 40% from three over the last 2 seasons. That was where we saw his biggest improvement. In his first 2 seasons, he was kind of a bench player, not really getting too much time, averaging below 10 points. But then in his junior and senior year, that's where he really took off. And I think that that's super important to mention, because you need that improvement. If you are a 4-year guy, even in this draft, if you're a 4-year guy, you need to show that improvement, that you can continue to get better at the game of basketball, and you're not just, like, going to get stuck or anything like that, or there's nothing wrong with your mechanics and that you can improve. So I think that that's huge. That comes from The Athletic. Now, The Ringer says, while comparing Da Silva to Kyle Anderson, he's one of the safer bets to find success in the NBA because of his two-way abilities. I think that that's also something that's really huge. When we pair him alongside Franz and Paolo, we don't really want a wing that's super one-sided on one end of the court. He needs to add something to that, because otherwise we don't really need him, right? We wouldn't really need him. And if he's going to come off the bench in replacement of one of those guys, then he's got to fill the void. You don't want to see, like, especially in the playoffs, whenever Paolo was out, or Franz couldn't really hold the load. You don't want to throw like bench guys who can't support it. It felt like we were too reliant on those two guys, or we were too reliant on Paolo when Franz didn't have it going. So if Da Silva can come in and be that kind of guy, that change of pace guy, off the bench. And I'm not saying in the playoffs, but in the regular season, I think that is going to be really huge. And he's got to be able to play on both ends of the court. Now, USA Today, who I mentioned obviously had him mocked to the Magic, said he displays a versatile and savvy skill set offensively, including ability to shoot threes, cut to the rim, post up, and run the offense. He played well in the tournament, making 9 of 16 threes. I think if you're a Magic fan, you love to hear these 3 numbers. You love to hear these stats talking about how well he could shoot the ball, because that is so crucial to this Orlando Magic team, especially considering that you blew a 20-point lead in Game 7. You want some scoring, because that whole series was ugly, So you need that. You need a guy who puts the ball in the basket. Now ESPN says this is going to be a little bit longer, so bear with me. Da Silva fits the Magic's personnel preferences neatly as a versatile forward with positional size, feel, and skill. Orlando has built a competitive roster and gets an experienced player that could help the Magic off the bench next season. He'll be able to play in different lineup combinations, both behind and alongside Paolo and Franz, as well as defend multiple positions, space the floor, and make plays in the flow of the game. Da Silva has a low-maintenance game and came off of a very strong year at Colorado, so that's why he ended up getting some consideration for that spot and in the middle of the first round. I think it's apparent that he's clearly a great fit for the Magic. Now, what has the front office been saying? I think that's probably the biggest thing right now. Jeff Weltman completely agrees, and he says that his shooting and his willingness to, or his ability, I should say, to open the floor has been the most crucial part of his game and why the Magic selected him. You guys can go and look. This is in his post-draft press conference. Sound bites. This was him, and he was saying it. You guys can go look at that longer and extended quote if you so choose. Now, where does this end up putting the Magic? Like I said earlier, you might not see the Magic use the second round pick, or you might. It just depends. It's a bit of a toss-up when we're looking at whether or not they will. Jeff Weltman also, here's another quote. He said, "Just trying to figure out who we think could be there. Obviously, at number 47, you're looking at a different type of player, and you're maybe talking to agents about their plans for the players, and it has to be in agreement with the roadmap you have for the player." I think this is a really interesting factor, because when we're looking at a guy like Tristan da Silva, look, he wants to be on the Magic, right? He wants to kind of be a part of the team. He wants to show that, like, look, I can fit. But when you're talking about a guy who's could borderline be undrafted, they want to go to a team that fits, right? Da Silva's bought in, but if you're looking at a guy who's potentially could sign with any team in the NBA, just with their summer league, and that's how he wants to give himself the best shot, then that throws a wrench into things. And I think that is like probably the biggest thing, tonight especially. And I think that the Orlando's got their guy. They got their plug-and-play guys. So I don't know if they're actually going to make any moves. And I think that's also why Da Silva is such a great pick, because I think he covers a lot of bases. And it's unusual that he's older than, our franchise pieces already, but he's still 23, so he's got a long career ahead of him potentially, especially if he can get his shot going. Now, what does this mean for free agency? Well, I think it means that we are going to potentially see this man. We didn't get the outside shooting from the guard position that I think we wanted, so I think that this almost guarantees that we're going to really try to make a move to get Klay Thompson. I think this organization would be very happy with a plug-and-play Tristan da Silva and a Klay Thompson offseason. And getting off of Joe Ingles, I think, is also, by the way, like completely confirmed, if not, as if we didn't already know that. So I think Klay Thompson is now, we're the betting favorites. I believe it's plus 170 in most books. I would say that this is just about a lock for the Magic to make a run and throw a bag at Klay Thompson. Now, he might want 3 years, he might want 2 years. It just depends. But I think this all comes from the Tristan da Silva pick. And I think that this is just one of the more underrated things that this Magic front office, Jeff Weltman, have been able to pull off since they kind of blew up the team a handful of years ago before we got Paolo and Franz. Just a completely different organization, and just another great pick, I think, by Jeff Weltman and co. They could have went a couple different ways here, but I really like the plug-and-play guy. If you remember anything from today, it's that this guy will be in the rotation immediately. We did not see that exactly from from Anthony Black and company last year. That wasn't going to be their role. This year, different needs for this team. They went on ahead and addressed them. So make sure to let me know what you guys think the Magic are going to do with that number 47th overall pick today, this afternoon, this evening. But that's all the time that we have. So I will see you next time.